Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second meeting of the semester. My name is Michael Teresi, so let's get started. If you're new here, that's cool. We do have some new rules to follow as from SGA. So we now have to take attendance to mark people as active student members. What does that mean? That just means that you attend 50% of the meetings. And with that, you then get the privilege to run as an officer in our elections and vote in those officer elections. Besides that, you're still welcome to participate in everything else the club has to offer. The active student member role only restricts you from running as an officer position or voting in those elections, or voting in any other motions that get passed as a club. You're still welcome to attend the clubs and the workshops if you don't attend 50% of the meetings. Again, this is just an SGA thing for becoming an officer of the club. So with that out of the way, let's tell you where you can find us. So one of the things we have is a mailing list. You can sign up with that with your email address, and you receive our weekly emails detailing any workshops that we have going on that weekend and the topics of the Friday meetings, such as the one happening now. We also use that mailing list to help distribute codes that we'll mention later for the merchandise if you are an active student or a dues paying member, sorry. We do have a shop where you can buy some of our merchandise. Again, on that shop is some new t-shirts that we just had designed last semester, went live this semester. So check that out at the end of the meeting. If you're not in our Discord already, please join. That is our main method of communicating with our membership and where all of our members hang out from time to time. And you can ask any questions and get connected with us off meeting hours. And of course, we do have a Twitter where you can follow us there and keep up to date on any posts that we make on any cyber-related happenings. So today's topics, we're going to go over any announcements that we have today, and then we're going to move on to current events brought to us by Jeffrey. And then Dr. Tom Neteros is going to talk to us a little bit about the internship program at UCF. And then we'll move on to the main meeting today, which will be in how to navigate the virtual internship fair, which is coming up soon. And that's led by Sandra by Experiential Learning. And then we're going to move on to closing. So before any of that, let's tell you a little bit about ops. So who are ops? Ops are members of the club who are not officers, but people who are dedicated to help keeping the club run. We do meet every Tuesday at 8 p.m. and they're going to be on Zoom online. And the link for that is going to be on the calendar, on our web courses, and in the Discord. And they are, of course, open to anyone. You do not have to be an active student member. You don't have to attend 50% of the meetings. You don't even have to pay dues. But we do like to see returning faces to help us plan these meetings and any workshops. If you do show up to the ops meeting and are interested in continuing to help us out, you can ask for the ops role during that time, and that'll give you access to a section of the Discord where our ops members communicate and help plan things and discuss back-end stuff on the club. So if that sounds interesting, please keep your eyes on the Discord for that ops link. It will get dropped on Tuesday. So the only announcements today are for the merchandise. So first thing, we have a new t-shirt design, as we mentioned. So last semester, we had actually 3 designs submitted, and we put all 3 of them up on our shop. You can visit that at shop.hackucf.org. The one in the center that's highlighted is the actual winning design by popular vote. But instead of what we've done traditional years, we've actually gone ahead and put all 3 designs on the store. If you are a dues paying member, you will receive a coupon code via email within a few days or a week of paying those dues. And that coupon code will give you a $10 discount on any one of these shirts. You're of course welcome to buy more than one, but unfortunately the discount code only works for one purchase. In addition to t-shirts, we've also had hoodies. So there is only one hoodie design, and you can visit that at hoodies.hackucf.org. This is going to be a bulk order purchase link. So the order runs from now until I believe February 5th. That can be extended. We just want to give everyone enough time to get any finances paid out and enough time for everyone to RSVP that hoodie link. Once that's paid out by February 5th, we're going to wait a little while to close out the order. Then the hoodies get sent out to everyone. Being a bulk order, the more people chip in, the cheaper it is per person. But there is a baseline price up until we reach a certain threshold of about 35 people. But all that information is present at hoodies.hackucf.org. And you can go there for actually purchasing the hoodie. So I'm going to give it off to Jeffrey for current events.
Thank you. Next slide. So first, let's talk about that SolarWinds hack. So next slide. So if you haven't heard, pretty much U.S. government got hacked via a supply chain attack to SolarWinds. It was done by a Russian state-sponsored hacker believed to be Cozy Bear, aka APT-29. Microsoft, SolarWinds, Orion were the two main programs that were exploited by APT-29. On Microsoft end, it's a combination of a net logon vulnerability, an issue with Office 365 and Outlook, and another supply chain attack with a certificate being compromised from Mimecast. For SolarWinds, it was a Trojan horse update that they were able to use that Microsoft exploit in order to gain control of the update build servers and push out this malicious update, which was live for a few months. And they were also able to use a VMware exploit to access restricted materials via compromised SSO slash SAML. Next slide. So how long was this an issue? Well, it was an issue for 9 months. It was first began with more of the exploiting the Microsoft services, such as Office 365 and NetLogon, but later the attackers pivoted to that Trojan SolarWinds update that we're all unfortunately probably heard of the most. And because of this, like, yeah, in December, the attackers ended up targeting cybersecurity firm FireEye because they were looking for some red team tools, likely in a combination to see what the US's prowess in offensive security was, as well as potentially using those tools themselves. FireEye was able to identify it as a state-sponsored attack. They didn't know it was Russia, but they reported it to the NSA, and then it was later found out this was just one piece of a larger puzzle that involves a bunch of companies getting hacked. Next slide. So, who was affected? Well, America. So some of the affected parties from the federal government include the Pentagon, National Telecommunications and Information Administration, CISA, the Department of State, National Nuclear Security Administration, yeah, the ones who run the nukes, and the Department of Treasury, to name a few. In the private sector, companies like Mimecast, FireEye, and Microsoft were the main people who felt victim, but also companies like VMware, Equifax, Cisco, and even some private entities or local entities such as Pima County, Arizona, the City of Austin, the California Department of State Hospitals, and even Kent State University. Next slide. So it's agreed that this was one of the largest instances of cyber espionage of all time. SolarWinds products are very common in governments and organizations, and most Orion companies, whether they knew they were infected or not, had to take the precaution to sanitize the systems that ran the software and anything it could have touched. Um, Also, it's not exactly a issue limited to the U.S. Non-U.S. governments had to publish advisories and actually advise themselves and other businesses to take action. It was believed that at the end of the day, it was about 18,000 machines that were infected with this malware that was created by the Russians. So is this an act of war? Because also keep in mind, the Russians denied that they were involved. Professionals are saying that it's likely not an act of war because there was no explicit damage that was caused. They didn't try to destroy all the systems they had access to, and in fact, only accessed only a handful of them that they found the most interesting. Instead, it was likely espionage. They were likely just doing this to spy on the US and their capabilities. And because of that, it is thankfully not an act of war, but it's still a really big deal. And it'll probably see a shift in how federal government deals with information security from now on. So, next slide. So to end this off at a little bit more lighthearted note, so a kid found a bug to bypass the screensaver in Cinnamon not too long ago by spamming the virtual keyboard and physical keyboards at the same time. In actuality, it was actually because a certain character would actually crash an accessibility tool in GNOME called Caribou. It's like an E with a bar on top of it, And that character, because the kids pretty much, they thought they were doing like the fun hacker man, pulling up hacker type or whatever on the screensaver, but they accidentally clicked and triggered this E key to be pressed and seg faulted the screensaver. So yeah, that is pretty much current events. So I next slide, I think we should hand it off over to Dr. Neterost. So take it away.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I just want to talk to you for about a minute or two about the IT internship program. For those of you who are declared as IT majors, you can actually take a class, CGS 4941, called IT internship, and you will get 3 credit hours of IT restricted elective that will apply to your major degree. But there are a couple prerequisites to it that I wanted to discuss. One, again, this is a program only for information technology majors. There is not an equivalent course for computer science or computer engineering. You can't apply your internship towards your major credit, but there are options to get internship credit through experiential learning. It just won't be one of your major requirements or restricted electives. So for IT majors, yes, you declared. You also have to have completed at least 60 credit hours, and you must have specifically completed these courses, the C course, Java course, CS1, database, and your discrete math class. If you're following the school's curriculum the way it's laid out, you should have had those done within your first year at UCF. And you may have transferred in with most of those met as well. The other big thing is you must have a UCF GPA of 3.0 or higher when you apply for the program and also when you start your internship. And finally, you must have reliable transportation. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so what happens? Well, you actually, work your internship, but UCF is going to charge normal tuition and fees for a 3 credit hour course, which will apply as your IT restricted elective. You can only do this once, so you can't get all 6 hours of restricted elective credit met. It is graded satisfactory or unsatisfactory, so it's not going to boost or diminish your GPA, but it does count towards your degree. And the big point is, I do not find you jobs. I can't make people hire you. So you have to go off and find your own job. The position must be IT related. It also needs, you may be able to use your current full-time or part-time job if you're currently working in an IT field, cybersecurity, programming, anything that's computer related. The internship may be paid, or you may find an unpaid opportunity. Either one will work. And during the semester that you're enrolled, you must work at least 135 hours at that internship. So you could have started working there, earlier in the fall, and then you get into the program in the spring. You can, as long as you work 135 hours in the spring, you'll be able to use it for this class. So how do you find out more about this? There is a website. It's down here at the bottom of the website, and we ask that you fill out the IT internship interest form that's on that website in the semester prior to the semester you wish to intern. That gives you time to find a position by the start of the next semester. It also gives us time to verify your information that you've completed your classes and meet the requirements. So I just want to bring that to you today because our next speaker is going to be talking about what is coming up next week, the IT virtual internship fair. And this is really not an internship fair. It's an internship fair, but it will be for CS positions and cybersecurity and everything else. That is all I have. Let's turn it over to Sandra.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Dr. Neterost. So as Dr. Neterost said, my name is Sandra Leon Barth, and I'm a faculty member in Experiential Learning. It's the main centralized internship co-op program here at UCF. And I'm specifically assigned to CECS. So those are the majors that I meet with. So I'm definitely assigned to help IT majors. And I also help Dr. Neterost a bit with his IT internship course. So let me go ahead and get my, okay, you have my presentation up on the screen. do you need me to share my screen, or are we going to be navigating from the slide deck that you have up?
You can please go ahead and share your screen.
Share my screen. Okay, wonderful. All right. So today what I'm going to share with you is how to best navigate a virtual internship fair, because obviously everything that we're doing these days is virtual, and including our internship fair that's upcoming, and as well as the Career Expo that is coming up on February 2nd and 3rd. So I will talk a little bit about that, because I definitely encourage you to attend both things. Even if you're just in the market for an internship, attending the Career Expo is still a very good idea. Just this morning, I was filtering through and taking a look at the employers that have signed up for the Career Expo, and quite a number of them are also going to be recruiting for internships. So it's going to be worth your while to go to both events, okay? All right, just a quick little plug for Experiential Learning in case you haven't heard of us. We are along the Memory Mall. Again, these days our appointments are virtual, so you can use your Handshake account to schedule an appointment with me, and we can help you with internship advising, internship credit, like Dr. Netters was talking about. We can help you navigate that plane. So whether it's you want to be registered for Dr. Netters' IT internship course, or maybe you have a semester where you're short some credit and you could really use being registered for like 1 credit for an internship, I can help you navigate that. Resume and cover letter review, internship prep. We offer a series of professionalism workshops throughout the semester, so you can always tap into those. And of course, those are virtual as well. And we also oversee the Job Shadow program and the Knights of Distinction program. But let's get to the good stuff. So in this presentation, we're going to cover what to expect from a virtual fair, how to best prepare for one, how to go in and research your employers, how to best pitch yourself, navigating the chat rooms, interviewing at the virtual fair, and then your post-virtual fair strategies, so how you follow up after. Okay, these are the 2 upcoming events. And by the way, I did provide this slide deck to your executives for HAC. So I know they will be sharing it with membership, just in case you don't have to like take screen grabs of everything if you don't need to. So yes, so as was mentioned, our big internship fair is coming up really soon. It's next week, Thursday, January 28th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then the Career Expo, the technical day, is the day that would be of interest to IT majors, and that is Wednesday, February 3rd, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Both events, we're using the Career Fair Plus app. We've actually used that app in the past. We've used it for our face-to-face events, and you would just download the app. It's a free download, and we used it to sort of navigate the event, and you could look up the company and see where their table was, and also go directly to their website and so on. But now we're actually using their virtual event platform. So, they've kind of broadened their offerings, and especially during COVID time, it's definitely taken off. So that is the app that we're using for this event. And pre-registration is required for virtual fairs. So that is something I need to stress to you all today if you didn't already know this. It's not like you would just show up to the website on the day of the event and kind of stumble through and think that you're going to get somewhere. No, you actually need to go to this website as soon as possible if you haven't already done so. Create an account for yourself, upload your resume, obviously, and then you search for the employers that interest you, and then you are going to register for meeting times with those employers, okay? So that will be something very important to do. The window to start doing this, to actually start scheduling meetings with employers, the window to do that opened up on January 20th, okay? So, students have already started to do that. So you want to make sure that you get on really soon so that you won't miss out, all right? Because employers have a finite number of appointments, and those will fill up. Unfortunately, they will. So that's important. Okay. Now, also on this slide, this is important to remember. You're going to see, if you need any special accommodations, or if on the date of the event, if you are scheduled, say you're scheduled to meet up with an employer that you're really excited about, like say you're meeting with L3 Harris, and you go to your meeting, you click on it, but your recruiter does not show up at that scheduled time. You let 2 minutes go by, 3 minutes go by, and they still don't show up. As I would say, maybe at 6 minutes, email, if it's the internship fair, you're going to email oel@ucf.edu and explain what has happened. Okay, say the company, the time slot that you had, and the name of the recruiter that you were supposed to meet with, because that will show up on your appointment time. And let us know that they'd never showed up. Okay, the reason why it's important to do that is because we will, on the back end, we are going to connect with that employer, let them know, hey, the student was expecting you, and the employer will often try to accommodate you at another stage of that event. All right, so don't just give up, communicate with us. And so it would be OEL for the internship fair, that email. If it's a career expo and that happens, the email that you would send to would be csevents@ucf.edu. Okay, so just kind of take a little note of those emails. Okay, so this is what you need to know about the Career Fair Plus website. This is the actual website. Now, the PDF that Hack is going to be sharing with you, this would be hyperlinked. So you just click on it, you go to this site, and the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to search for UCF and then identify the fair that you're interested in. Okay, so I think I actually have that website open right here. So let me pull this open a bit. Okay, so if I type in, I'm on the Career Fair Plus site. So I'm typing in UCF. And when I searched for UCF, it came up with like that UCF had 5 events. Okay, so for upcoming fairs, I see this is the virtual internship fair. And then the next thing is the virtual non-technical fair, the Career Expo. That's the one that you're probably not interested in, but the virtual technical Career Expo would be the other event that you're interested in, okay? So let's go ahead and let's click the virtual internship fair. And so here you can see an array of the companies that have signed up so far. We're still open to registrations. Definitely what we found with virtual events, we do get less companies signing up. But at the same time, even if there's just one company that interests you, it's a worthwhile event to attend. So let's see, for instance, if you were interested in checking out City, you would go there and you would take a look at, this tells you, who their recruiters are and how many time slots are available. And so that if you were to click, like say you were to just click on that recruiter, then it comes up with the actual schedules that are available, like the actual time slots, and you would select one. But you do need to log in and have an account created in order to actually schedule these meeting times with an employer, okay? So that's what you would do. You go ahead and select your time slots and you kind of go through the event doing that, setting up your day of meeting times, okay? And as you can see, I mean, this is still a healthy number of appointments available. So you wouldn't want to leave it too much past today to go and sign up, but it's good to know that there are still time slots available, okay? So that is the Career Fair Plus app. And again, as you can see, it's very intuitive. It should be, really quite straightforward for you to use. This link takes you to a video that Career Fair Plus has created. It's an instructional video that, again, will walk you through pretty much what we just looked at and maybe a little bit more detail. So I encourage you to, obviously use that resource, familiarize yourself with it so you do it all correctly. And then there's also this article, this link here takes you to an article. And this is a blog post that Career Fair Plus created to help students make the most of virtual fairs, okay, and of their platform. So that is Career Fair Plus and what you need to do in a nutshell. Now, just to reiterate some things to you, again, log in as soon as you can because the window opened January 20th. And there's a, it's a first come, first serve. Second thing is you're going to need to upload your resume into the system. So if you haven't already polished your resume, there's no time like the present. And I believe in the chat, I uploaded a little resume packet that has like resume verbs to use, some sample resumes, as well as some a good array of sample interview questions. So that's a really helpful packet to start practicing and polishing up everything for this event, okay? Definitely, I mean, it's always a good idea to have a fresh pair of eyes take a look at your resume before you send it anywhere or upload it into systems. So try your best to schedule an appointment with someone like myself or someone at Career Services for a virtual resume critique. However, I mean, disclaimer, it is a busy time for us. We do get pretty booked up. So if you aren't able to get an appointment, you'll see that there's a lot of events going on now that help students with these things. So if you go on Handshake and you look in the events tab, you'll probably see workshops and, we have what's called the Career Readiness Month that leads up to the big Career Expo. And so throughout that month, like all now, right, there's employers that have volunteered their time to help critique resumes and so on. So if you check that events tab, you'll no doubt find an event like that where you will get a chance to either speak one-on-one with an employer or go through a resume workshop so that you know all the tricks and tips to make your resume as strong as it possibly can be, okay? Obviously, prepare in advance for your meeting times with employers. You want to have researched the employer well beforehand. Go to their website, check them out on LinkedIn, like follow the company if it's one you're very interested in, and really do your homework on what they are recruiting for. And even apply ahead of the event if you see that they have already, posted their internships on Handshake or on their company career website. Why that's a good strategy is, you can show the recruiter how proactive you are. And when you meet with them, you can actually let them know, I'm aware of your such and such internship and I have applied on Handshake as well as on your career site to this particular internship, because I think my education and my experience and exposure so far has prepared me really well for this opportunity. All right. So what to expect from a virtual fair? If you have never attended a virtual fair, and I think, let me just go ahead and go switch to that mode. I know that's a little better. Sorry, I was kind of old school with how I was presenting. But if you've never attended a virtual fair, the way that you're going to prep for this fair is going to be very similar to how you would a face-to-face event. Meaning you should still look the part. So, definitely a button-down shirt or a blouse, or at least a polo, smart, groom yourself well. Obviously with screens, it's usually just up top. So I'm not going to tell you that you can't have the pajamas on the bottom. That's maybe you can get away with that. That's not a problem. But sometimes just these little things of like dressing the part help us with the whole psychology of what we're doing, So just even suiting up is going to be a really great impression for that employer when they see you, that first impression on the screen. We still have first impressions, even if it's through a screen. So I would recommend, suiting up, looking the part, being well groomed, and also paying attention to your surroundings, which I know is going to come up on another slide. Let's see. Okay, so some of the things, let me just pay attention to the order of things here. Like I mentioned, you do want to research the companies in advance, have your resume ready, and practice your pitch. You've probably heard about the elevator pitch. That is how you introduce yourself to an employer when you meet them in a very sort of succinct way. It's called elevator pitch because it's supposed to be about the length of time that it would take you to ride the elevator from a couple of floors to, from one floor to the next. And basically you want to introduce yourself and let the employer know your name, your major, your expected grad date, a little bit about you and your experiences so far, and what you're looking for. So the fact that you're looking for an internship for summer, you would give them that detail. So that is, if you've never prepared that or practiced that before, it's a good idea to go ahead and write that down on maybe like a little note card and just practice that until you can deliver it very smoothly, because you'll be doing it several times throughout the day as you meet with different employers. And it's, it's your first impression, so you don't want to botch it. Okay, technology. Super important to make sure that you have a strong Wi-Fi connection wherever you are, wherever you're going to be taking this. I recommend using your computer, whether it's a desktop or a laptop. I wouldn't recommend you trying to navigate a fair using just a cell phone, if you can help it, right? I wouldn't recommend it. It wouldn't be the best. Have a nice quiet place where you have a copy of your resume ready to go so that you can refer to it if you need to. Again, it's okay to get a little bit nervous at these things. So just to prepare for you maybe blanking out or forgetting about an experience, having your resume ready is a way to quickly glance and remember what you want to talk about. Also have a prepared list of some questions that you would want to ask that employer. It's a precious bit of time that you have with them. And so, of course, you don't want to ask them very basic questions because you would have done research on the company and you would find these things out yourself. But you do want to have some maybe higher level questions ready to go, prepared in your space, right next to you. Okay, that's a good thing to do. The environment, like we mentioned, you want it to be a quiet area, somewhere you're not going to get interrupted or disturbed or have the phone ringing a zillion times like you heard in my background. Just to give you, I have a virtual background up, but I have my son playing, what is it? Sonic and another son on a flight simulator in the other room. So, all volume has to be turned down and so on. But make sure you have good Wi-Fi connection, good lighting. Again, that notepad with your pre-written down questions, but also room for you to take notes as the employer speaks with you, right? Because they may be saying things that you don't want to forget and things that you have to follow up on. So make sure you have something to take notes. I also recommend headphones because I do find that just helps with any kind of echo that may go on if you're not using headphones on the call. But you'll judge that when you test your equipment. You guys are IT, so who am I to tell you about that, right? Okay, of course, have a good camera angle. And another good thing is that, if the profile allows you to upload a professional headshot, like many of you have right now in the chat, you would want to do that so that if technology was to fail or if you have to turn off video, the employer is going to see a good picture of you, a nice professional picture of you. So again, it's all about that first impression. Okay, so how are you going to research the companies? This slide is kind of obvious. I think you know that you can find more things about the company on their website, through LinkedIn, on Handshake as well, just industry-specific websites, and doing your research that way, you'll be able to find out what you want to know about the companies. Glassdoor would be a way to look up what other people are saying about the companies and people that have worked there and so on. So that can be some of your own personal research. Definitely pay attention to where the company is located or where they're recruiting for, because that can be a selling point. Like if you know that they have positions open and you are open to relocation wherever, or particularly somewhere where they are recruiting for actively, that could be a nice little tidbit to mention in your meeting with the employer, because employers do find it challenging sometimes at UCF, because a lot of our students want to stay local or close to UCF. So if they have opportunities that they're recruiting for that are out of town and you're game for that, then that could bump you up really high on their list of considerations. So make sure to mention that if it's something that applies. Definitely know about what they do. Like, don't use these meetings with employers to ask them, oh, what exactly do you do? Or who's your competition? Those would be questions that are like the kiss of death. Okay, that's like a crash and burn question. You should have done your homework and know exactly what they do and what markets they're in and how they're diversified they are, and all of those things you should have researched. So even a basic question like what positions are available, you should have been able to find that out, because again, if it's not posted already on Handshake, it should be listed in the Career Fair Plus app or on the company career site. So hopefully you're asking them a little bit more deeper questions, like, exactly what the work is going to be like that you would get involved in, and so on. Yeah. Okay, so this slide just kind of goes over what the elevator pitch is made up of, but we mentioned that already. But when you give it, remember that maintaining that eye contact, even virtually on the screen, that's going to be important, and that you have good posture while you're attending this event. Okay, don't be slouched down on the couch, with I don't know, too much going on around, like we mentioned. Also, one thing about your surroundings, like many of you will be attending this event maybe in your dorm room or your apartment or whatnot. If you do have like a bed, your bedroom in the background or whatnot, make sure that it is presentable. Like, make the bed, don't have a load of laundry just like strewn on the bed and so on. You want your surroundings to be very orderly, so that again, it's feeding into that first impression. Okay. Okay, so virtual fairs do typically have options to join like a group chat or a one-on-one. What I saw in our events, it does seem like it's more common for the employer to set it up as a one-on-one chat. So I think you'll find a lot more of those that you'll probably be scheduling. And also, it's definitely more common that they have included it to be a video chat. So that's why, all this talk about preparing your surroundings, because it's unlikely that it's going to be just a text chat back and forth. It's probably going to involve video. If you are in a group chat though, just remember that you do want to put yourself out there. You want to step up and ask your questions and be confident and engaged in the session. But at the same time, there's a fine line between being confident or sort of overbearing, right? You don't want to come across as that person that's completely monopolizing that time. You want to let others ask their questions as well. But at the same time, make sure that you're getting yourself noticed because you have asked a really intelligent question or a well-researched question. You do want to, you don't want to go on and on and on and on and on and on. You typically want to keep your language and your communication style kind of relevant and to the point of what you're talking about. And if you are texting with an employer, again, keep it professional. We're all used to texting, but try not to throw in emojis and be too familiar, because it's a professional interaction. Always ask for what the next steps are after your interaction with the employer. They may tell you, okay, go ahead and make sure to apply to our such and such position. If they say that, please don't take that as like a push away from the employer. Okay, I have heard that feedback from students. Sometimes they're disappointed because they say, oh, I went and spoke with the employer and then they just told me to apply online. Like, please know that if a recruiter tells you to apply online after they've spoken with you for a bit, they're saying that because they can't consider you unless you have come through their online application. Like, it's a policy. So if you were, if you had handed them your resume, they probably have a policy where they cannot accept a handed resume. Like they can look at it and they can make comments on it and they can make a note to themselves to reach out to you and ask you to apply online, but they probably cannot consider you as an applicant unless you have come through their online application portal. So it's not a push away, it's actually telling you, please apply online. And that's a good thing. But also make a note of the recruiter's name and contact information that you interacted with. The reason for that is that you want to connect with them afterwards to thank them for this interaction, and also to let them know that you have done the follow-up steps and that you're eagerly awaiting the next step. You would love an interview and so on, right? So that is going to be important to make sure you get that contact info. What I've noticed in the Career Fair app is some employer recruiters will put their LinkedIn next to their names so that you can go and try to connect with the recruiter that way, or you can send them a little message afterwards to their LinkedIn. Okay. So take advantage of that when you see that they have included their LinkedIn, because they didn't have to, it wasn't mandatory. So the fact that they did, they're probably open to student connections. Okay, so again, I kind of covered this already, but when you're in a group chat, remember not to be polite, don't dominate. Remember to check, it's always a good idea to sort of read aloud what you've typed quickly so that you can test it for tone. Because you obviously, again, you want to keep it professional and you don't want to say anything that would be off-putting. For one-on-one, give the employer time to respond. If there's a lull, don't be afraid to initiate conversation. You can start off with a little icebreaker, saying, I hope your day is going well, or, I'm sure it's been a busy day, especially if you're meeting with them later in the day, that kind of thing. Because remember, it is a conversation between two human beings when you really look at it. So it's okay to have some nice little interaction like that. What not to say in a chat room, or when you're meeting with an employer. Again, back to like, don't keep it to the basic questions, because then what does that make you look like? Basic, right? That's all, you've kind of just stumbling around from meeting to meeting, haven't done your homework. Are you really that interested? That's what they're going to come away with if you do that. You should know the qualifications that they're looking for, but it's okay if you're asking, if you let them know, I currently have experience in these skills and I'm currently working on these skills. It's okay if you ask them, if that looks like it would be a fit for what they're looking for. And it's a good chance for you to also mention how you've developed certain skills. So you can, of course, you talk to them about the projects that you've worked on, the experiences that you've had through being involved in HACC, different, like the competitions that you may have been a part of and so on. So that's a good chance to talk about those things. Right. Definitely treat this seriously, like it is an initial interview, because especially with virtual, where it's set up as a block of time, it's like a mini virtual interview, isn't it? The practice interview questions that I uploaded into the chat, one page is like I think it's the 50 common interview questions. And then the second page is 40 sample behavioral style questions. So please spend time looking at that, because those are a very common way that interviews are led. All right. The behavioral style questions, if you don't know that it was called behavioral style questions, what it looks like in practice would be if the recruiter asks you, tell me about a time, or tell me about one of the IT projects you worked on and what was the outcome. Or tell me about a time that you had a conflict on one of your IT projects and how did you resolve that conflict. Or tell me about a time you missed a deadline on your IT project, and what was the reason and how did you explain yourself? Different things like that. It's basically tell me about a time or give me an example of. That's a behavioral style interview question. And so the employer is always phrasing it that way because they are looking for you to supply examples of what you've done, right? And the reason why it's important to practice for these types of questions is because if you don't, in an interview, you're going to give whatever story or example comes to mind first, right? You think on your feet. It's not like you'll sit there and fumble. I'm sure you'll think on your feet and think of something, but it may not have been the best example you could have given. And so if you prepare, you'll give the best example. And in that example, again, by that question, what skill they're probably looking for, and what type of experience they're hoping that you share with them. And you're going to give that story, and you're going to be highlighting how you developed this skill, how you applied this skill, and the outcome of that project. So it's going to be a great story. Okay, and then after the fair, of course, the hope is that when you interact with the employer, they're going to be impressed with you and your experience thus far, and your eagerness to learn more and bring value to their company. And so the hope is that they're going to connect with you either by phone. Sometimes it's a phone call, so make sure that voicemail message is set up professionally as well. And check your voicemail, because I don't know, these days we're not so good at that. But it could be a phone call, it could be an email. You always want to follow back up with an employer quickly after they have messaged you, because if you don't, they're moving on to another candidate. So you don't want to miss opportunities. But that's the goal. You want them to connect with you again to probably set up another longer interview with you. Okay, and yeah. All right. So the strategy after the fair, definitely follow up, like we said, take advantage of anybody's LinkedIn that they've provided, and then try to get their email so that you can send them that thank you email. When you're following up after the fair, the window of time that's ideal is 24 to 48 hours, okay, is when you want to follow up. Make sure that if you're emailing them, make sure that you attach your resume to the email, okay? Always attach your resume when you're communicating with an employer, because it's just a convenience thing. It's so helpful. If you're letting them know, hi, my name is Jim, and it was such a pleasure to meet you at the internship fair on Thursday. I really enjoyed the information that you shared with me about the such and such position. And I feel like the experience that I've had through my IT projects and experience with Hack at UCF have set me up really strongly to be a good candidate for this position. And I'm really looking forward to hearing back from you, hopefully for another interview. But yeah, following up is important, and always mention something specific that you shared with that interaction with the employer. That's a way to, again, like establish that connection and it's a way to remind them, because again, they would have interviewed a lot of people. So it's a way to just remind them of something that was really good about that interaction. And of course, please see my attached resume for your convenience. And I look forward to hearing from you soon, right? Okay. It's also that communication is a great chance for you to also include a link to an online portfolio you might have, or a website that you created, or if this applies to you, if you have like a GitHub of code you want to show off, all those things could be incorporated into that email to the employer. Okay. And then, yeah, stay in touch with them by hopefully adding them on LinkedIn if they accept you. And remember, whenever you message to connect with an employer, don't just do the flat out standard default connect. Always put a nice little message about who you are, that you met them and where and so on, and the purpose of connecting. And this is just a slide that reminds you that if you have an internship, you can either look into registering it with Dr. Nedrost and the IT internship program, or you can try to register it with us for experiential learning. You can actually register it as a 0 credit internship if you want it to show up on your UCF transcripts for every semester that you do an internship. That's kind of a nice thing to show that you've had this like university sanctioned internship. So that would just be by filling out a form, an experience form on Handshake. And again, remember this slide is part of that PDF, the PowerPoint that will be sent to you by Hack. And then I'm here, like I said, to help you if you want to do a resume review or help with your internship search. You schedule an appointment with me on Handshake, and yeah, and I'm here to help you, okay? Let's see. These are some additional resources that I hope you'll find helpful. UCF has this program called Upkey, which is a nice, like kind of fun little program if you're kind of struggling and not motivated to work on your resume or your elevator pitch. This will kind of walk you through with like a little avatar thing. It's kind of cute. So that's a cool thing to explore. If you're wanting more prep for interviewing, Big Interview. I love to promote this program. I think it's so great. It's such a neat application that you can, actually, let me just check in with time. How am I going for time? Do I still have a little bit of time? Anyone? Like,
yes, you do.
Michael?
Yeah,
I do?
plenty.
Okay, great. I have plenty of time, okay. But yeah, this is such a cool program that I think all students should use if they're going to be interviewing for either internship or a part-time job or a job. And again, this is all hyperlinked. So if you click on Big Interview, oh gosh, will it open up if I do this? Maybe not. Okay, so maybe what I'm going to do is, oh, wow, I had it open already. I guess I just always have Big Interview open. Okay. So this is what Big Interview would look like. Wait, does it show? Do you see what's on my screen right now? Do you see the Big Interview page or no? You do see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Awesome. Fantastic. Okay. So this is Big Interview. And again, UCF like pays a license to have this application. So that's why it's all branded for UCF. And then, so what you would do is you would click log in, and you log in with your, I believe it's with your Knight's email. And then if it asks for a code, the code is 1963 because that's when UCF was established, okay? And then once you're on Big Interview, you can do some practice interviewing. So I'm going to click on practice up top, and I'm going to click on practice interviews. And then you can tailor the type of practice you want to do by industry. So I'm going to click on industry. And then you guys are all technology. So I'm going to click on technology. And then here you can dig deeper. So somebody suggest one of the things that they want to take a look at.
Cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity. You surprised me. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So you can go for like some questions for a general security role, or do you want to practice questions on logic, or analytical skills, or tech general? So someone tell me what I should click on. I'm just going to sit here until someone tells me what to click on.
Let's go for logic.
Let's go to logic.
Let's go for logic. Okay. All right. So, okay. And then it asks if you want some kind of eye tracking calibration. I haven't really explored that yet, but I'm sure you guys will have fun with that. I'm going to click practice without eye tracking. Okay. So this, now it shows my real background. You can see my son playing Sonic again in the background. Okay, but this will be the sort of avatar interviewer, and then you can record yourself. Okay, so you would, I don't know if if you guys will hear the audio on this, but I'll go ahead and click. So again, this is logic. So I guess you have to think of a way to best calculate, and then you can record how you would respond to that question. And so the benefit of this is that you know, if you don't have someone to practice interviewing with you, or, you know, this is going to walk you through practicing your responses. So you play that, and then you record your responses, and you watch it back to do some self-critique, or you can even save the recordings links. And when you have a meeting with a career services person or with someone like myself, we can look at it, and, you know, you can get feedback on it. So again, it's helpful. Practice makes perfect. When you practice, you're not going to feel as nervous. So if you go through this several times, it's going to be like having a smooth landing on the flight simulator, like butter, right? That's what my son says, a butter landing. So yeah, so I just encourage you to use this program. I think it's nifty. I hope you do too. Any questions about any of that? Okay, so that is our last slide. Definitely encourage you to, if you haven't done so already, try to connect with Experiential Learning. So you can follow us with our social media, and I send out, we push out let me stop the share. We push out a newsletter typically like every 2 weeks. And that is all centered around internship and co-op and any events that are going on that relate to those things. So I definitely encourage you to look out for that newsletter and read it, because, and we also highlight like hot internships that are currently on Handshake. So take a look at our eBlast when it comes out. Don't let it go to junk. Like, hopefully you're looking at those. And then also my colleague, Jessie Thomas, she's amazing. And so she pushes out a weekly career services newsletter. Pay attention to hers as well, because it'll be everything to do with part-time jobs, career jobs, a lot of info sessions with employers, and other great opportunities. So those two eBlasts coming out to you, read them.
Thank you so much, Sandra. This is very useful to our members.
Good, I'm so glad. And I look forward to working more with your members. I definitely saw some familiar names.
Okay. Thank you,
right.
Sandra, for coming out, taking the time out of your day to come talk to us about the opportunities the Experiential Learning Office has. It is nice to have a resume review. I would recommend. It's always good to have a second look on your resume. You never know what
really
you may
is.
have missed or how else you can improve it.
Definitely.
Also, we did post the slides on our web courses. If you are a dues paying member and have access to that, you can visit that there. Additionally, we did post it in our resources channel in our Discord. So please feel free to check that out.
Fantastic.
And with that, that would lead us into the closing of our meeting. Thank you, everyone who showed up today. And we will be looking forward to seeing you next week when we'll be doing a deep dive into virtual machines. So until then, have a good weekend.